Say when.
Let it rip. Say
Let it rip. Here we are.
Say when.
I don't even think we did a mic check, but Steve, our
Mic check on the fly, brother.
number one engineer, will do it. Here we are at
Ginger
Citizen.
snaps?
No, we're not using that. Here we are at
Ginger
Citizen
snaps?
Watch, folks. The Thursday edition. I was up in the hills. I'm a little tired. I have to excuse me. I came back
Casey's
this morning.
house. Tell them how
Had a
close-
fire up there at Hunters Valley, close to my place in Mariposa, but they got it all contained. They lost a couple of
One of
homes,
his
unfortunately.
palatial estates, Steve.
They lost a couple of homes.
There's a man.
but,
I'm here.
they don't know why. They don't know how
Here with a
it.
millionaire.
Funny.
Free properties.
Don't know how it
Berkshire
started,
Hathaway
but
stock.
anyway, that voice you hear, let me introduce around the room. The
Ginger
voice you always hear is Robert Tomasetti, the Velvet Sledgehammer, in studio. You know, folks, I was really looking forward to today, and one of the reasons I kind of dilly-dallied getting back here is I thought we were going to have a guest and he was going to carry the show. But he unfortunately had a commitment. Folks that listen to our Tuesday show on Citizen Watch here on KYOS AM 1480, the voice of the Valley since 1936, heard that we were going to have Pat Lenny on. Unfortunately, Mr. Lenny had a commitment out of town. Talked to Robert. Like I say, it was GOA. I couldn't be gotten a hold of, so I didn't know he wasn't going to be in this morning. So apologize.
And the reason is
so
because
folks are going to
Pat's-
have to go to the polls without the benefit of hearing a personal interview.
And the reason is he told me that he is in Santa Monica today.
Yes.
And he has a nephew that is becoming a lieutenant. Now, he didn't tell me what. He just said in Santa Monica. So I was like, okay. He says, yeah, I tried to call Casey, but, Casey's up fighting fires and can't answer his phone.
I wasn't fighting. Well, there's just no cell service up there. To find out there's no cell service down here when I get here. Anyway.
Gee, why'd that happen?
We're working on that, too. But, no, welcome to Citizen Watch, folks. It's our Thursday feckless edition before the election. I know it's the guilty pleasure for a lot of you people out there that say you never listen. Welcome. And, we had toyed with the idea of having John Whitaker from the Merced County Times puts out a great publication every Thursday, Wednesday. I don't know what time it hits my mailbox on Friday. Sometimes Thursdays. Anyway, we were
Great article by John Whitaker
about the last person from the last election, Mr. Belluomini, who we had in here.
Yeah, you got his name right.
One of the only candidates that sung. You guys remember when he sung?
God,
God Bless
I'm telling
America?
you, I've been
Is he an Italo guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
But what happened was how I met him is he was out of town. He was working in Tracy and stuff. And he was real busy, and then he moved back to Merced and took over as the facilities manager for Vinny. He was Vinny's right-hand man. And so what had happened was I was at a funeral, and I hear this man singing, and you talk about a voice. So when he came in last year, I asked him to sing, and he sang God Bless America. And the hair on the back of Casey's neck just kind of stood out. Casey was like impressed.
Yeah, he was a very good candidate, and Robert's going to talk a little bit about his struggles on the council. He's trying to make a difference over there.
And and
this is going
I'm going to be very honest.
This is going to illuminate my concerns.
Yeah, well Steve saw it firsthand watching one of the council meetings.
Well, here's the thing about him.
But I've been singing this song for a long time.
Well, right.
About letting the new blood on the board and the resistance that you can see that's palatable.
Exactly. And that's what you saw that's just
But here's the
exactly
thing.
Right.
But here's the thing, I think. You've got a board that's not businessmen. Okay, and Mike's not a businessman either.
You know about the supervisors or
I'm talking about
city council.
The city council people. I like Mike Murphy. Mike Murphy sometimes really uses good logic. Sometimes he errs on the side of caution and all that kind of stuff because he's an attorney.
I think Murphy needs to become more forceful.
Yeah.
Well, but
That's
I don't
my
think an attorney. I don't think his.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy.
He can be forceful.
But I voted for
But for the good
Belluomini.
of our citizens, he needs to become more forceful.
I really didn't like the man working for the man. I'm a facilities manager for education.
Right.
I'm not happy with El Capitan and that boondoggle and all that money they spent. And Mike was over there. But Mike said, I just took my marching orders. And he said, I would like to establish the Campus Parkway project. And I said, now that's a good idea. If you can replicate what you did at Tracy, even in the 1/10 of that, Merced will be better off. Put a sign in his yard. He's the only person other than Pedrozo that had a sign in my yard until Mel Levy put this big, huge canvas.
Which is so ironic to me because the Pedrozos are so left-wing Democrat and you're so right-wing conservative. I mean, how do you put someone like that's sign in your yard? You obviously
do you
don't
mean?
support his political views.
I support the political views of them locally. Now, if Josh is going to run for assembly, there's no sign going in my yard. If Josh is running for, or John is running for Congress, there's no sign in my yard. I'm okay with the and you guys are going to argue with me, and you're
big
right.
Government? Are they not union? I mean, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but this is not with which I've taken you to agree with.
No, but I
what do you
agree
mean
with
locally?
unions I agree with unions to a point. Our family was union for years. I agree with the union because management, if they were doing their job correctly, there would be no need for a union. Everything a union stands for is now law. Okay, the thing
The
with
protection against greed.
exactly the situation with Josh and John is they're supposed to be in positions that are not, what's the word I'm looking for? Case.
Well,
They're not supposed to be.
they're political.
But they're not Democrat. What do you call that?
Partisan.
They're not partisan. Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Well, the point
Are you
is,
kidding me?
they're supposed to not
Those
be
guys
partisan.
are the most diehard Democrats I've ever met in my
I
life.
understand that.
Steve, let him dig this hole. It's fun to watch.
Okay, I understand that. We are personal friends, and I think
As am I.
I think that really. I've never seen you at
consider
any of
both
their
my
dinners.
friends, but I also acknowledge that I have different different
we know.
political
I
perspectives.
mean, here's the
To
thing,
the point where I'm not going to put a sign in my yard.
Well, here. You can't put a sign in your yard. You got to get your mom's approval. Okay, so don't go there, Ginger Snaps.
See, when he feels threatened.
No, I'm not feel threatened. When I have access to Josh and John, and we hammer out issues, and we hammer out, and we have this talk.
And they're good men.
And they're nice
honorable
guys.
men.
They're
I have
honorable.
a ton of respect for him.
Exactly, but I don't
disagree with their political
But if you go
philosophy.
exactly, if you go higher
So do
than
you,
local,
yeah, you put a sign in their yard to promote their reelection, and you disagree with their political points.
not locally, their political points.
You see that a lot, Steve, among our the Merced 300, the scions of the community. You have Mike Gallo throwing events for Jim Costa. He's a pretty conservative guy, I think.
Well,
Gallo
when you
is.
get higher than assembly, when you go assembly in that. Okay. Now, I like what Adam Gray has been doing, but I didn't put an Adam Gray sign in my yard, nor would I.
But
I'm a
Adam
registered
Gray's a
Republican.
diehard Democrat, pro-union,
But his
prevailing wage.
But his
all
job
these
is
things that you say you're not for.
But his job shows that he's. What I'm saying is that the position that Josh and John have is supposed to be nonpartisan. Now we know that in some cases they're very partisan. And the situation is look, when John called up and he needed pump done, did he call? Who did he call?
Called Adam
Hazen.
Gray.
Called Adam Gray. Okay,
Yeah, well,
now,
yeah.
his people needed help. He called Adam Gray, and that hole went down. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
And I get it.
Now, if they were running for a partisan election, they wouldn't get my support, nor would they get my sign in the yard. And it's the same situation that John's having a problem with Mel Levy. He and Mel Levy are very, very good friends, but John is a diehard Democrat and Mel's a Republican, and you won't see no Mel Levy signs in John Pedroso's yard.
No.
Okay, and it's a situation that I'm put in because we're friends. Okay, I'm a Republican. Mel, put a sign in my yard. Josh, you're running for assembly. There's no signs going in my yard. Okay, when you pick the partisan and you say I'm running as a D, I'm an R.
And I think Robert kind of highlighted an issue that I think is prevalent among the Republicans and Democrats. Republicans are a little more forgiving, if you will, and will maybe embrace another side, whereas the Democrats seem to toe the party line. I think that's
I
what
voted
you
for
were kinda
Democrats
talking
before.
about, is that even though John and Josh, locally, and I know what Robert was trying to say, that, it's really not partisan politics. It's more, nuts and bolts, get things done for the county and the city. And then when you get into the state and the federal level, you're more esoteric with, policy changes and, social
I align
engineering and
myself.
that.
Yeah, I align myself
And
with.
Robert's not going for that. But John and Josh, on the other hand, I think would align themselves with politicians that are truly toting the party line and wouldn't embrace a Mel Levy who has a lot of good common sense issues purely because he's a Republican. And this is where we have some of the problems in our politics locally. Now, we kind of got off the subject here, but Robert was going to talk about Belluomini. Now, you saw, Steve, and if people don't know, you can watch the city council meetings live streamed on YouTube.
Or on channel 96 locally on Comcast.
If you have
That's where I
cable,
saw it.
if you don't have cable and you're one of the modern kids that are just connected to the net with your phone, just get on YouTube about 7 o'clock and you can watch the city council meetings. Now, Steve watched one the other day.
I tried to.
It's very
One of the most painful experiences I've had.
sausage being made, they say. Anyway, he saw where Belluomini evidently had some interaction and saw how negative it was on him. And here's a guy that's new to the council, and that's what Robert was trying to talk about. He has great ideas. He's full of vim and vigor.
Yeah, just let me know. I'll read from this because.
But go ahead and talk about.
First of all, John Whitaker did a phenomenal job on this article.
Right.
John, kudos. It says Mike Belluomini, and I'm going to just read parts of it. It said Mike promised he would help bring the same talent to the table that helped him become a driving force for the city of Tracy's economic development goals. That is why I voted for Mike Belluomini and let him put a sign in my yard. Here's a guy that got Tracy off the map. Yeah, Tracy was a bedroom community at the point in time. He went over here and he stole a business here, stole a business there. You drive up I-5 and 580, you see nothing but lumping jobs, and a lumper is a warehouseman.
Sure.
Okay, which
pays pretty well.
Which
has
plays
benefits.
pretty well. Has
Be a great job,
benefits.
It's an economic engine.
It's an economic
Not a
engine
retail outlet. It's
with
an
no
economic engine.
It's not
And
a
you
Panera
don't need a specialized training. Anybody can get them. Okay, so I thought, wow, this would be great. So I talked to him. I talked to Josh. Josh agreed that Campus Parkway is a great situation. So I supported Josh and Mike. I said, okay, with those two on the council, we're going to get this engine going. Well, I'm reading this article, and after Casey and I have been to several of the meetings, and this article is pretty apropos because it talks about how Mike's being a little bit frustrated. Okay,
Well, you can see his frustration.
Absolutely, you can.
Yeah, and it says that he made some passionate suggestions. City manager John Bramble so far has defended the city's proposed budget from his ideas to add specific industrial planning from Campus Parkway. No, I'm not giving you any money.
Right.
So Mike's like, huh? So it says here, Campus Parkway. It says, since the city's first budget workshop held at the start of the year, Belluomini has pushed for the preparation. Now, let me do a sidebar here. We had heard that 1.5 million. How do you say that? 8 square feet of
warehouse.
Warehouse.
Million and a half
Square feet went to Patterson because I was told there was only one project that was
one property
where that project can go, and that was Walmart. And Walmart said no. So Steve and I were having this discussion, and Steve was a little critical of some things. And I said, Steve, but you got to remember that we don't have any property that's ready to go, that's available. And right here he says, Mike Belluomini has pushed for the preparation of industrial development near the Highway 99 and Campus Parkway interchange. He noted that a potential 524 acres, or 82% of the city's vacant industrial zone land, is in the University Industrial Park. He recommended that the city start an industrial and commercial specific plan. Okay. He urges that basic export industry is desperately needed in Merced to inject more new money. Okay. And he says that the city has to have priorities on their proposed budgets. Then he talks about Mike wanting youth services.
Right.
It says 2003 master plan already detailed a shortage in recreation facilities and a need for program coordinators. It says that he points out that 26% of the population is between the ages of 5 to 19. Now, let me ask you guys, have you ever heard a councilman or a county supervisor
That well informed
and does his own studies and bring his preparation to a meeting?
And that's my bigger point, Robert, is we've got a lot of people in elected positions here that we pay a lot of money to that don't do anything.
Right.
And then you finally get someone that wants to do something, and it's kind of like, hey, son, calm down over there.
You don't understand.
Don't make the rest of us look bad.
Yeah.
Well,
we want to sit on our ass. We don't want to do anything. Don't make us work.
But not only that, but I argued last time, I discussed the part of Greg Diaz and Mike and James Fincher and their things. And in here it talks about elections by district, and it says, because we're facing possible legal action from a Latino group. Now Greg Diaz wants to get off his ass and do something. Then you go down and says, Belluomini urged his colleagues to just change the charter wording from at large to by district. Diaz did not disagree with Belluomini in theory, but he said the plan would not fly in the current state of the law, and that has courts favoring single-member districts. The city attorney also warned that groups are watching what Merced does. Really? I don't think anybody gives a rat's about what goes on in Merced, Diaz. Stop being a roadblock and start accepting things. You put the bug in Bramble's ear, and you will tell these guys 17,000 different ways of sideways how not to do a project, how not to do this, how it won't work here, while you're collecting your big-ass paychecks, and all you are is a roadblock, and you are not creating any help for Mike Belluomini.
Think about how our lives would change if Mike Belluomini was the city manager.
Yeah, I think it
I mean,
would.
this whole region.
Look
would
at
change.
what happened to Tracy.
He has really good ideas. I kind of chuckled a couple of meetings ago. There was a fireworks ordinance being proposed. Some pretty heavy fines for blowing off fireworks either before or after the 4th of July, the safe and sane type. And Mike had a problem with that. He didn't want to criminalize it. And he and Diaz went back and forth in Bramble. And Mike pulls out a revised ordinance that he wrote. And he goes, well, I've taken the time to rewrite the ordinance without the offensive wording. And if Greg Diaz would like to look at it, the city attorney. So here's the city attorney being schooled by a council member.
No.
But I got to
maybe
give.
he should be.
Exactly. It's exactly what
know,
we need. Instead of them going.
Yep.
See, they forget too often.
Great
Way
article.
at the supervisor level. They take staff's reports and input as gospel. And here Belluomini wants to direct staff.
You know why? Because Belluomini
and the
knows where to go to
manager.
look for the information that's
Yes.
pertinent, and then he
You know why?
measures it against the staff
You know why?
recommendations.
And what they
Nobody
should-
else does that.
And what they should be doing with this property. Now, I understand Bramble's problem with this property because all these acres that Robert mentioned are not city owned. They're privately owned. And so
And you
what
gotta get
Bramble
those
has
boys to the table.
What Bramble has a problem with is bringing private people and spending city money on other people's property. But he's missing the big
It's
picture.
called an investment.
He's missing the big picture. The property is an industrial zone. If people own it, people own it. But let's start talking to those people, bring them to the table.
Amen.
What
Let's-
Josh has been trying to do, and that's
Amen.
why I like both
Right.
of those guys. But my problem,
Right.
guys, is again, the city attorney is controlling this. Why is he even sitting? I've never.
He's there to give advice,
lazy.
but
I
too much
firmly
he's giving
believe they're
direction.
lazy. And they
Well,
have no
I
idea
think
what
John
they're doing.
Whitaker did an awesome job on this.
That was a
Really
good
did.
job.
It was a great
absolutely.
job. And what it does to me, it only
Kudos
makes
to
me.
Mike Belluomini.
Kudos to
Yeah,
Mike
keep
Belluomini.
doing it, Mike. Don't
Keep at it, buddy. Don't.
We need more Mike Belluominis is what
Yeah.
we need.
Yeah.
Well, and the situation is you're exactly correct, and the thing is he's a veteran. He's done this before. He knows where to look for things. Meanwhile, you got guys like Josh and Noah Lohr, okay, and quite frankly, you got Lynn Davis that couldn't find his ass with both hands and a flashlight.
Well,
and
it's
the
nice
prob-
to see we finally have major league talent on the city
Yes,
council.
and it
somewhere.
just is annoying when I see that
At
the
least,
city
at least we
attorneys.
got one.
Yeah. Well, look, we got to take our first break, folks. We'll be right back. Stand by. Hey, folks, welcome back to an extended break. Boy, that was a long one, Steve.
It was. We were trying to check. We were trying to verify some facts off air here.
Yeah, we had to get the cappuccino machine fired back up again, put wax in the lava lamp. But anyway, we're back here, folks. Studio
But there was
C.
lava in a lava lamp.
Well, that's what they say, but it's really wax. Studio C, Citizen Watch, KYOS, AM 1480. 1480 on your radio dial. Since 1936, the voice of the Valley, the power of local radio. Steve Colvard here on the controls, twisting the knobs, adjusting the dials, watching our time. Robert Tomasetti engrossed in today's Sunstar and Merced County Times, picking out the salient information that
No,
we
I'm
bring
looking
to
at
our
Dolores
listeners.
Can. Dolores Can is going to start. How do you even understand these names? It's Rungtiwa Wirasatherji?
I don't know.
Oh, man. That's pretty
She's
funny.
starting a doctor's office, obviously.
I'm looking at Powerball numbers. Maybe I don't have to go to work on Monday.
Yeah, $100 million in that Powerball. Anyway, welcome back, folks. If you ever want to listen to our shows, you can go to YouTube and put in KYOS space 1480 AM. All of our good shows are there. Got a lot of good hits. People, just can't get enough of us. Of course, our times are Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 o'clock at night, and Saturdays, 6
guys.
a.m. and 6 p.m.
Winton has a Chamber of Commerce.
You can believe it or not. I believe they have a chamber of anything. It's a chamber of horrors over there.
That place is like, I'm looking at the dead zone or something.
Well, it's
Terrible.
kind of the killing zone. We talked about the Winton killings and the killing fields over there. It hasn't
Ooh.
gotten any better.
Hey, did you guys read?
We were talking about Belluomini before the break. I think
Yes.
Robert wanted to bring up one more thing about Michael Belluomini.
No,
Yeah, but I think
it's
Mr.
not that-
Belluomini is an illustration of obstacles that we
Right.
face
I think
here.
that's what we were trying
And
to
that's what the bigger picture.
Yeah, the bigger
Yeah,
picture.
and you look at people like Mike, and you say, okay, what kind of a job are you doing? What kind of projects are you thinking of? And he comes prepared. I'm sorry, I'm going out on a limb here. Deidre Kelsey doesn't come prepared as far as I'm concerned. Neither does John. Lynn Davis, I don't really know who he is. Jerry O'Bannon. And just to show you that they don't know what's going on and they're not prepared, Deidre
boy.
Kelsey wrote a letter to the editor, and it was called "They Sounded the Alarm." And she's trying to let Amanda Carbajal
Yes.
And Darren McDaniels were instrumental in bringing out the fact. Now, I'm
They
sorry,
were.
Deidre, but you sit 30 feet in a meeting from Jerry O'Bannon, who had this information
Right.
and withheld it from you.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that's the most
You're-
alarming thing to me.
You guys,
Jerry O'Bannon withheld this from the public.
well, you guys, the county supervisors, are supposed to know what's going on, and evidently, this just shows, Deidre, that you have no clue what's going on in your jurisdiction. The thing is you look at Mike Belluomini, who's beating his head against the wall with the city council, and I'm thinking, gosh, maybe this is a guy or a template of him is what Merced County really needs.
Amen.
And and I was sorry to say that, but I was getting on a little rant. But you got gentlemen like Josh and Noah Lohr and Murphy and Tony DeSetti,
Kevin Blake.
okay, and then you have Mike Belluomini, and Mike Belluomini, Tony DeSetti
And
comes
Mike
up with
Murphy.
some pretty good.
Like I said,
and Mike Murphy.
Mike Murphy, if he will give Belluomini a little support, I mean, it's kind of
DeSetti
ironic.
too. I mean, Tony came up with some good ideas on the downtown. Get rid of the sales tax. Get rid of that double taxation. Get it off the city.
No, but where I think Mike is exciting, Mike Belluomini, is that he knows the infrastructure that we need to invest in so that when these opportunities do come through town, that we have something to present a potential economic engine. And
Exactly.
that's where he is a sole voice on that council. The other people don't look at things in those perspectives.
No, and neither
that's
does-
what's scary.
and
And that's
neith-
what's holding our city back. It's what's holding our county back, in my opinion.
And
And until we get more people that think like Mike Belluomini
Right.
into these positions, we're going to stagnate economically because the people that have been sitting there for 3 decades don't have the vision. They show up at work unprepared. I mean, like you were just mentioning, they
rely
go
on
through the
staff.
motions,
Yeah.
and that's why the morale is so low because there's nothing exciting going on. There's no one that generates energy over there because it's the old same. It's like Groundhog Day every day.
Yeah.
And John
Yeah.
Pedroso is Bill Murray.
Yeah, I think of that when I think about the Mobley campaign.
Oh my gosh! But anyways, to just finish it up, I just think that the city attorneys, Fincher, you need to just sit there and go ahead and give them advice. But I think Deidre and them, Deidre, open your eyes. Okay, you didn't know what was going on in your own family. You don't know what's going on in your district. You don't even know what's going on, and you want to run again.
Yeah.
I just
She's not running again, is she?
Well, that's what we've heard. that
We've
she's
heard
not.
she is. We heard she isn't. Who knows?
No, she needs to hang
Look
it
at
up.
Jack Mobley. Jack Mobley told us how many years. I'm never running again.
I am never going to run
again.
for State Assembly District 21, and look what he did.
But Mike Belluomini, good job. John Whitaker, good job. Let's move on.
Yeah, we were going to bring. I was kind of talking about John. He's a. I don't know if we call ourselves journalists or not.
Mr.
but
Whitaker?
No, he's a journalist. I'm talking
Absolutely.
about us. We're kind of in.
He's got that hair. If
We're
I'm trying to make him.
commentators.
Yeah, we kind of just commentate. Throw our 2 cents, if even.
But
that.
we do some research. Especially, I remember back in the day, both you guys came in here with just all kinds of facts.
Well, we still do. We just take it in a little different form. But I guess what I'm getting around to is the next time people hear our voice on Tuesday night,
The elections are
a
over.
real show. Yeah, the elections will be over. And I'm not going to go through the tearing of the envelopes and all that, but I just want to encourage people
let's
that
talk
there's
about
some really good races to look at. The Merced County Sheriff's race is one that everybody
Oh,
can
my goodness.
participate
Yeah,
in.
absolutely.
Supervisor's race is not so much, but the Sheriff's race is a real big one. Again, I really wanted to have Pat Luddy in here today. I know he and Robert were going to go after it. And,
We're going to
Robert,
go after
well,
it.
no, Robert brings up some very good points. And I talked to Pat about him off the, when I invited him in. I said, Robert's been kind of hard on you about this retirement, about being a one-term deal. What's your real motives in this? And, of course, we just talked just briefly, and I know that Pat, in previous answers to these same questions, has says, no, I'm not one-term. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it for the forward vision. As far as the retirement, it is what it is. I don't think he's really addressed it one way or
And
another.
how old is he right now?
He's 66.
66.
He'll be 67, I think, when he's sworn in. He'll be 70 when he punches out of his first term. And again, the guy's fit. I mean, you don't want to look at him and say 66. I mean, physically, I
But
guess.
I agree with Mary McKissick, though. I mean, to me, look, I like Pat as a person.
Yeah, Mary Ann
I've
McKissick
had dinner
wrote a
with
really
him.
nice article.
When
Editorial.
Fernando was there, he would drink a glass of wine. On Fridays, he'd mellow out. He'd decompress. We would talk. Very charming.
Yes.
Very nice guy.
Very nice guy.
I like Pat. I like Frank Swigert. I like Vern Warnke. The problem is
Warnke's picked up a lot of traction in this race.
the problem that I have is exactly that. Is that Pat is older. This is not a post-retirement job. If you're happy making a difference, then why don't you keep making a difference over there for Larry?
Right.
Larry comes out as his biggest supporter. Everywhere Larry goes, Larry just puts in a plug. And people have said, hey, that cheerleading Is it genuine cheerleading? I mean,
Oh, I think it is. I think Larry really believes in
yeah,
Pat.
but you know what? That's great. But here's my question: if I've got a shining star like Pat Lunny, according to what Larry says,
That's right.
Okay, why would I want to lose him?
Well,
I would sit down and talk him out of being
It's a great question that nobody's answered, and the only
here's
thing
the
that
other
Larry
question.
says is the citizens of Merced County will be best served by having him work for them too. That's what Larry will
And
tell
then
you.
here's the other thing that I wanted to ask Pat, and I wasn't able to, is what does he think about Tom Cavallero investigating people who are a little bit
Well, we were
rambunctious?
certainly going to ask him that, and as we would of all of them.
And we weren't able to. And the point I'm just having a problem with is, I think Pat and Larry, people have said Pat and Larry are a little too close. Pat's spit polished, state, slick. That's how he comes across. I talk to him. He's very down to earth. I just have a problem, and it's always been my problem, retirements.
Yeah.
Just is breaking the state of California. This retirements on top of retirements. I'm retirement spiking. I'm a retirement consultant. I talked to a guy. He's making $1,800. I talked to Mark Payson. He's making $200,000. Okay,
Right.
It's just wrong.
And again, it's a system.
The people that you put that sign in your
person.
yard for believe in that.
Believe in what?
They believe in the strong retirement system that the government.
Well, they don't know how they're going to
deserves.
fix it.
But my point is you just don't share their perspective. Yet you put their sign in your yard because you're friends with them.
You and I aren't really good friends, Ginger Snaps, and I still take you to dinner, don't I?
We're bros, buddy.
You know, Robert, when he gets cornered, he's like a cat.
No, I'm not cornered. The point is
lashes
they're
out.
friends of mine. Oh, Mark Payson is a friend of mine, and I'm critical of Mark on that. But Mark rolled up to my house the other day, said hello, was in town. Hey, how you doing? I'll give you a call. Let's do coffee. That's the problem with living in a small little town. We're here. We're on the radio.
Right.
We tell our opinions, and
Yeah.
you know what? We have to walk the streets, and people look at us.
Yeah.
But I think politically, you and Mark Payson are closer than you and the other gentleman.
Actually, I agree a lot with Larry Morse, to be honest.
Yeah.
I agree a lot with Larry Morse. Larry Morse will always get my vote. Larry Morse, to me, I think does a great job. He articulates it well. He's logical. What I'm concerned about is that he's got a guy that works at his shop, that he's trying to push to be sheriff. And I'm
Well,
like,
he really believes in, and it is a small town. God only knows I've alienated myself from people in this town. Tomasetti's not talking to me or Patty, and over some perceived slight. And what we do here is not to alienate, but to illuminate and to educate and to try to show people really what's going on. And if people take offense, they get there. We rub their fur the wrong way. Well, that's just the way it is. And we'll take our lumps because I think what we do here on Citizen Watch is really important.
and here's one that we're taking our lumps on, Casey, real quickly, is our non-supportive Measure M.
Right.
I do retirements. I do stirs and purrs workshop for school people.
Yeah.
And I'm just adamantly appalled at Measure M.
I
heard that they get money every year to fix the schools, and yet
Deferred maintenance money from the state.
Right here, Merced School District says right here, vote June 3rd for safer schools. Our schools aren't safe enough.
Right.
You got them on lockdown. You have cameras. You have all we're missing is razor wire. Okay, then it's the www.com is repair local K through 8 schools.
Right.
Is it for safety? Is it for repair? Or is this just a money grab?
And can you really believe that?
No.
I mean, because based on the original Measure M, this is Measure M 2.
Right.
The original Measure M promised a new gymnasium at Merced High School.
Well, this is the elementary school.
I understand it's a different school district,
Right.
but it's all the same. It's the same
It is.
principle. And the fact of the matter is that when they come to you with a bond float and they make these promises, it's been proven through this original Measure M bond float through the school district that what they promise you is not necessarily going to come to
didn't
fruition.
deliver on it.
Not yet.
No,
Not yet. So
not
here's my
yet.
position. It's very simple. Take care of the original Measure M,
Yeah.
fulfill all the obligations of that you promised us, the taxpayer,
Right.
when you floated that first Measure M, and then come back and talk to me again.
Right.
As soon as you're done with that first one, when I see a gymnasium at Merced High School, when I see a gymnasium at Atwater High School, then come with another bond.
Well, here's
float.
my-
Until then, no.
Here's where
You're
I think
right.
the rhetoric is disingenuous. It says our local elementary and middle schools are old. True. Outdated. True. And need safety upgrades. If they needed safety upgrades, I'm sure the state of California would come in and say,
Right.
upgrade that. So, giving this on the parents and the citizenry and the property owners, okay, to update the safety upgrades when
Right.
I'm sure you're upgrading it as we speak.
Sure, what parent is going to send their child to an unsafe school?
Well, that's exactly what it is.
And that's why they're playing on the heartstrings with these words and these these showing the little kid in the crosswalk, and I'm just surprised. And
I wonder how much did this ad? This is a full page ad.
Oh, and color.
Have you guys heard the ad blitz on the radio, on all the radio stations from Building Healthy Communities about the Park and Rec Fund being gutted?
Budget. Well, that's another.
And they're spending money trying to lobby the city council of Merced for more money.
Well, of course, because
so they have money. I mean,
because here's the thing, children. Children is the hot button.
Yeah.
Okay, this is why all these Amnesty International show these little kids from Africa with flies in their mouth.
I turn the channel when I see that. Same thing with the dog.
Yeah. Sally Struthers.
I
got to turn the channel because it tugs at your heartstrings.
Guys, it's time for another break.
Is it?
It is.
All right.
Casey.
Yes.
Let's have a break for the children.
All right. For the children, for Susan Walsh, we're doing it for the children.
Bless the beast and the
Thursday,
children.
folks. We'll be right back.
What's your friend, Case? Your new dear.
Folks, my new dear friend, literally. Folks, welcome back to Citizen Watch, our third and unfortunately final segment this week, the last week of May, and then we'll be into June.
Next time we talk to you, it'll be after the election.
It'll be after the election when you hear our voices, a fresh show, if you will. Hopefully you'll listen this weekend or on YouTube. Again, KYOS 1480 AM.
What do you think a good goal is for turnout, Case?
Percentage-wise of the
98. It would be a good turnout.
If we get another 25% like we did in the last
total
election
25%
for the city council and a primary, boy, we'd be we'd be gold, listeners. Let's do it.
But you know what I'm wondering? I'm wondering if people really are paying attention now. I wonder if things have gotten so broken, so ludicrous that people are starting to pay attention.
Well, sometimes you have to illuminate an alternative, and I think that's where someone like Mike Belluomini is really enlightening this community. Look what we could have. Look what we they're here. They're in our community right now. Right. We just got to get them where they need to be.
I love John Whitaker and his newspaper, but that article needs to be in the front page of the Merced Sun-Star.
Whitaker's very talented. He's really is a gem in our community.
And you see it's a more in-depth article, which unfortunately the Sun-Star doesn't.
And he's always positive. That's right.
Well, I told him he always makes fun of me because I call his newspaper the Oprah Winfrey of Merced.
It is, but it's always from a positive perspective, and I respect that.
No, it is.
I mean, it's not hard-hitting, and it's not a gotcha type of thing, but that's kind of refreshing in a lot of ways.
We try to see how many times Robert can get in the picture section of the Merced County Times every week.
No, I haven't been in there much
another really interesting race is the Board of Supervisors District 3. I can't vote in it. Steve can't vote in it. Robert can't vote in it. One of the things we've talked about the candidates ad nauseum, but one of the things I find interesting in the candidates is this deficit, $9.3 million deficit over there at the county.
Is it a real deficit?
It's a real deficit.
Whoa. I heard it's not.
I heard it is. We read where
it's rhetoric.
We read where the 40 employees in the last 2 months have resigned from the county. Brown and Finch. Brown has
and they're not going to fill those positions.
Not going to fill them because again, money. How are they going to? What are they going to do?
Your bigger question was: do we really need them in the first place?
Do we need them in the first place? Yeah. But all of these candidates, Tomasetti, Davis, and Snyder, have all said that layoffs are not an option. Now, McDaniels has said everything's an option. But how can you say that layoffs aren't an option when you're looking at a $10 million
Because your philosophy is that big government is good,
right?
That it's an economic engine,
right?
That there's more money at the trough anytime you need it.
That's right.
It's just that democratic, diehard mindset that is ruining the day here.
But it's almost like they're trying to tell the employees, hey, don't worry, we're not going to lay off.
Got you covered.
But I got news for you, employees of the county. They don't have you covered. And I think they should be realistic with you, and they should be realistic with the constituents. Money doesn't appear out of the sky. And we talked about this Measure M bond, where it's another, death of 1,000 cuts. People may not realize, but a vehicle license fee, the state is going to double. Now, when I say double, it's going from $1 to $2, which people say, well, geez, only $1, Casey. But it's a 100% increase. Right. And this is what we're seeing. What did we just see in the fines for the parking in a handicap spot?
Amen.
400% increase.
They have to feed the beast, and that's what has to be stopped.
Yeah, and these cuts, these taxes, these fees, these nicks, every time you turn around. And this is where we need to have...
extortionists.
Huh?
They are the original extortionists.
Right. So you have a guy like Belluomini who's trying to say, look, folks, let's go out and develop some land. Get us out of this morass. We'll get some tax dollars. All we hear is no.
And take some of this government money that we have, and instead of raising salaries or increasing benefits, let's invest it into something that might grow the private sector so that we don't have to be dependent on the government.
What did they do at the city last week? Gave out $100,000 in bonuses to folks that have been suffering for the past few years. 1,700, 800.
I'll tell you what, every guy at the city that says I'm suffering and boo-hoo on me, I have 10 people that will stand in line and take that job for
Without the
less.
bonus.
Yeah, but here's one unique area where I might give kudos to Bramble is because of the way he's chosen to do this, it doesn't count towards their retirements.
Right. No, he gave it. They have to
did
pay
it
taxes
as wisely as they possibly could. He
Yeah,
could.
but-
So I
but
have
wait
to
a
tip my
minute.
hat when he does
But
something.
I have a problem with this. When you set up the budget, like Mike Belluomini is trying to say, let's do this, this, and this, and you want to give $100,000 to the kids, oh, we can't. Why? Because we have $100,000 earmarked over this for
bonuses.
payoff,
Yeah.
for bonuses. What does Greg Diaz? Doesn't he find anything illegal about it? Isn't there any? No, Greg Diaz probably said, oh, yeah, give us more
What
money.
about the mindset that if we have some money to spend, let's invest it into some industrial areas, get the proper people at the table,
Right.
so that we have opportunities to grow the private sector.
Right.
So let's use this public money to make an investment that might not initially pay off.
That's what Belluomini's saying.
Yeah, and the fact that he's getting resistance leads me to believe that these people
Hey,
don't understand that concept.
He's
And that's
earning
what
his
scares me.
$20 a month. Trust
No,
me.
they don't understand the concept. And then, like you say, the pressures that are coming on now with the youth council, and they're running ads on the radio, and they're lobbying heavily. You know, they have 4 or 5 kids get up in a room or a row, and this is how that benefited me, blah, blah, blah. And you just can't, you know, and again, looking at the budget, I mean, I think we talked about Slayton's budget went from $700,000 down to $250,000 in the last 3 or 4 years.
You know about the Boys and Girls Club?
The Boys and Girls Club, and what they're doing more with less. And I think that's where you really
I'll bet you Bramble didn't take a pay cut.
Exactly.
I'll bet
Conway.
you Diaz didn't take a pay cut.
His number-
Conway got a pay raise
Yeah,
going
his-
from writing news stories
Yeah.
to sitting there doing
See,
nothing.
this is where you need leadership, because Bramble's boy, number 2 boy Conway, he gets a raise.
But they're all of the same mindset. That's my
know.
point. Is this
Well-
where it's just endemic in the system right now, where it is
Well-
about getting pay raises. It is about,
Right.
hey, what you get this month, what I get this month.
but here's
Let's
the thing.
leapfrog the next county.
Right.
I mean, it's that mindset that's going to take us to the poorhouse.
Yeah.
It is. And
We're
the
there.
problem is
We're
nobody,
there.
and I hate to say it, but nobody has the balls to take it back.
And when they do have the balls or they have different ideas,
Yeah.
there's mass resistance.
Like
No,
Well,
there's the
exactly
attorney
right.
saying, we
And the
can't
things
do
you see.
that.
It's like, shut up, Mike.
Yeah.
You ruin it for all of us.
Or they make him seem like, oh, you don't, oh, now.
You don't get it.
We can't
Yeah,
do that.
don't be
No.
I'm
naive.
John Bramble. I know more than I will guarantee you. I will bet this. I'll bet you that Mike Belluomini knows more about raising funds and bringing jobs than John Bramble ever thought of doing.
If
Yeah.
Mike Belluomini was the city manager of Merced,
Right.
life would change here.
Yep.
Right.
Life would
Can
change.
you imagine him and Frankie Q together?
Frankie Q.
I'm not a
I
big,
like
you're
Frankie
a
Q.
bigger fan of
There's
Frankie
another
Q.
one when they walk into the room, that warm,
And there's a
fuzzy
guy that's
feeling.
been sitting in that job for many years, and I just
Well,
don't
same
see
way with
anything
Henderson.
beyond retail that he's really done. Now I know there's a nut company coming in over
No,
there.
there's a nut company. He got Coles in. He moved to okay. He got a lot of
retail.
Of course, retail.
Yeah, I want economic
Why?
engines.
Exactly. But what is it? Frank Quintero can't go to the council and say, the guy who can, Belluomini's getting nothing but stalwart tactics by Greg Diaz and John Bramble about property tax.
and you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Frank doesn't agree with Belluomini, but Frank sees that resistance. He goes, well, I ain't going to go up there and do that. Why would I want to put
Yeah.
myself in that position?
I hear you.
You know, and I even have to, you know, I've been a big supporter of Mayor Thurston, and I'll say right now, I'm a little disappointed sometimes in the comments that Thurston makes. They're a little,
Well, he has that
Negative.
condescending attitude.
a little condescending, and a little, well, you don't
You know what I think
understand.
he
Mike,
thinks he is? You know what I think
yeah,
he
that'd
thinks
be
he
nice,
is?
but
Mike,
you don't
I
really
just don't
understand.
get it, pal.
I think what he thinks he is I think he thinks he's Don Rickles on the Dean Martin celebrity roasts. You know, when Mike says something, he has his little zinger, and when somebody, he's got to have that little quip.
Well, him and Josh have always gotten into a few verbal barbs, which I find funny. But, you know, come on, give Mike a little bit of a break, and let's listen to what he has to say.
I'm
And
telling you, give him a chance, and morale will change because we'll be working towards something. There will be some excitement.
try something different.
It's like a freaking morgue down
And I
there.
think we all agree in this room that Mission Avenue interchange is our best hope of development.
And you
in
know
this
what?
county.
If we don't get the $13 million Tiger grant,
Tiger
that's
grant.
not the end of the world.
No,
we
we
can
just
do
keep
other
going.
things.
We keep going.
Follow Belluomi's lead because he's been there before.
Right.
He's done it. He
Get
knows
those
what it
landowners
takes.
involved.
He knows what it takes.
Exactly.
Get out of his
Not
way.
everybody on Highway 120 was. I mean, when he put those properties in, they were owned not by the city. That city grew to that part out. When you go to Mountain House Road or I think it's Mountain Springs or Mountain House Road, all of those. Come on, that was all land that
Yeah.
Gary's owned and.
Now, it's
He
just
made a lot of
nothing
people rich.
Well,
see.
I look forward
We'll see.
to the
We'll keep watching.
$5 that I'm going to get from Robert when it turns out that Walmart is the tenant in Patterson.
No, that's been proven wrong, right?
No, it hasn't been proven wrong.
That's what the city
Oh,
said.
it's such bull. You know, if we want to bring
You
this
need
out
the
on the air,
$5 so you can get your phone
I
back.
do need to get my phone turned back on, which is an issue. That tip line, folks, if you call it,
Exactly.
It's not working right now.
209-406-8728, you might get a signal. That's what happens when you go up to the hills for a few days. You just forget about life. You know, it's so pretty up there. And, you know, Robert talked about my deer that wandered
Smoky.
down from the foothills. Yeah, it was a little smoky, but it's just a nice time of year.
Did you ask Steve and I if we want to go up and... No.
You guys can come
Yeah,
up
he does.
anytime
He's
you want.
asked me to go up there.
No, I got my motorcycle tires in the car. I'm going to get them fixed. We're
Yep.
thinking about riding motorcycles this weekend and doing
Absolutely.
some stuff. What are you going to do this weekend, Robert?
Sleep.
Your geese? Are you going to build a geese pen?
You still have a
Man,
house
my
guest?
geese, they're next on those little...
They grow up every day.
You still have a house guest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have seen the dog in the
When are we
geese.
going to have your other brother on the phone?
Momo, we should call him. Hawks won. He sent me a message that Chicago Blackhawks won, staved off elimination, and
He is a hockey fan, isn't he?
you want to call him?
No, we can.
We don't have time. Well,
We do.
we have about 4 minutes before we have to
Yeah.
call it a day.
Nah, well,
And,
let's do it on Tuesday.
real
I would
quick,
just, yeah, go ahead. You.
I just want to give everyone one last
Encourage,
shot because
yeah.
this is our last show before the election.
Yes.
Is there anything that you would like to get out there, Robert, or is there
Anybody you want to
strongly
endorse?
support?
Any
Or-
candidates you want to come in favor? We know Measure M. I think we all agree no on M.
You know,
If
no
we
on
had
them.
to pick a sheriff, I'm going to go out.
I told this to Pat Lunny. I
What?
said, Pat, I agree with the Sun Star. Retirement, your age, your relationship with Larry.
Yeah.
But I think, truly and honestly, all three of those candidates will make a good sheriff. I think we'll be fine in the sheriff's spot. It's the supervisor, District 3, that concerns me, because there are people that think that Lynn Davis's status quo is good, and I'm like, Lynn, you're not doing nothing anyways.
Yeah, I
What-
can't believe that's his
can't
platform.
believe that is
Let's
his
keep going
platform.
Let's keep doing the same thing we're doing.
Let's keep doing nothing.
You look at Karen Adams. Karen Adams has some skeletons in her closet, but she does a great job in managing the money.
Yeah.
You got Richard St. Marie, that's squeaky clean, but is pretty new at it.
Yeah.
Don't know what we're going to do with that. You got Barbara Levy, who's
Shout out to
unopposed.
Barb, our new assessor.
Our new assessor, Lisa Presto.
All the ones that are unopposed. Larry.
So you're cool with Lisa Presto now? Because for a while there,
Well, you know what?
weren't real sure.
I had a talk with her, and I'm cool and I'm not cool. I think we overpay her personally, because she says that her job is to make sure that things follow an accounting procedure and a principle. Okay, once you set that up in your computer, you're pretty much done.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you spot check it.
Maybe that's why
periodically.
there's no opposition. Same way with Dr. Gomes.
Hey,
Congratulations to
way
him.
to go, Stevie, Dr. Somonex.
Same thing with old boy over on the west side that let the water cell go
Oh,
through.
Banyan, you know,
Bannon.
unbelievable.
I still can't believe that he didn't think that was.
What I think is funny is I can't believe Dietrich Kelsey is as stupid as she is.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the
these
one
are-
that bothers me.
These are going to be things to watch.
What
this
about
Yes,
your
you pay
case?
attention.
Any hard feelings anywhere? I mean,
No.
I don't mean hard feelings.
Oh wait,
any
wait,
strong
wait.
feelings
Hey, well,
about
who are you going to vote for assembly?
Well, Assembly, yeah, that was kind of.
And who are you going to vote for Congress?
Well, Congress is another a really a good race that people should be watched about. If they're happy with Costa,
I'm
well,
voting
you
for
have a
Melvin.
choice. Yeah, I think Mel Levy is a real good
And
choice.
I'll tell you why Mel Levy
I
is.
kind of
He
regret
lives
we
in the
didn't have
district.
Crass in. What?
Botello was very Mrs. Botello was very nice.
Oh, like her, a lot of vim and vigor again. But
I think if you get
just
her
a
and
little,
Mel together, woo, what a dynamic.
I know, and that's the exciting thing. But it's yet
Teixeira and Crass you could keep. They don't live in our district. I
think
call
we
them
have-
carpetbaggers.
I think
Can't
we have
believe
the
that.
answers to our problems here.
I know people are going to hate me for that, but come on, we said that about Hillary Clinton when she went to New York.
Seems
to
like
become
all
a
the money's
senator.
lining up behind Crass. We'll see what happens. The governor's
But he can't
race.
even vote for himself.
I'll be honest with you. The governor's race, Donnelly, I can't get behind, brother.
How about Cash Garrett?
He more so than Donnelly. Donnelly is just too
out there.
different. He's
Yeah.
just a
How do
little
we
out
have
there.
15 people that think? This is what I laugh at. You have 15 people that think you're going to kick old Jerry's butt?
I know. I think Jerry.
That's pretty
Yeah,
tough.
I think we have to face some realities.
Edmund
here.
gets that
The
one.
reality in California right now is the Democrats own it lock, stock,
Right.
and barrel. I
They
mean,
do.
put on channel 108, dude.
Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible how they just run law after law after
Oh, yeah.
law after law after fee after fee after fee, and you look at the little green and red lights,
Yeah.
and it's just almost
Is that what you do?
universal.
Your mom only let you watch 108? I thought you were allowed to watch the Muppets.
Now I just
Ginger Snaps watches the Muppets.
I am so uncomfortable with where the state of California is right now and what it's become.
Well,
it's a nanny state.
It is a nanny
They
state.
want to legislate everything.
Here, I'll tell you a real quick story. You guys want to hear this real
Yeah,
funny?
we got a minute. Go ahead.
I was downtown. I was parking, and here are three guys, two from the city, and they're standing there with a tape measure, and they're measuring the no parking
sign,
sign.
yeah.
And they go, "What are you guys doing?" And he goes, "Oh, we're measuring the sign. Why? It's out of code." "What do you mean it's out of code?" "Well, it's 6 feet. We have to raise it to 7. "Why?" "Well, you might bump your head."
Yeah, 6'2" guy.
Really?
Bump their head. So
I
this-
bumped their head. So the boss comes, and the boss was so great. I said, "Really?" And I'm getting ready for a fight, right? "This is stupid. It's ridiculous." And the guy looks at me and he goes, "It's a nanny state." He said,
It is a nanny state.
It is.
There's no doubt about it.
all we do is reward stupid people.
And we send these people up there, and all they do is make law after law. It's so ridiculous. Tune into Channel 108 to see what California
That's why
has become.
Mobley says it needs to be a part-time legislature where they don't have as much time on their hands to do that. And again, that's an interesting race in the fact that the Republican Party, and Robert and I have talked about this, we find it hard to believe that they've picked Merced as ground zero to dump all of this money into this 21st Assembly race.
I think he got the whole. I think
There's
he
something
got
bigger going on there,
I
folks.
hope.
If those two gentlemen, that one lady and that guy, contacted Jack about getting in the race, there's got to be something they know that we don't,
Exactly.
right?
Maybe
Makes
Adam
you
Gray is a
wonder.
little more involved in the.
Well, the skinny
what's
is
his
that
name?
Well, Adam Gray was interviewed by
Calderon.
the FBI in reference to the Calderon issue. And at the time, he was asked, well, why did they interview? And he goes, well, I would assume all staffers would be interviewed.
And I agreed with that.
But not all were interviewed, only Mr. Gray. So it really, not to add a twist here at the end of the show, but it makes you wonder if somebody knows something
I know,
that
that's-
something is coming down, that something, because as you know, Mr. Yee is on the ballot, and he's gonna be warming a bench here in the federal pen pretty soon.
Absolutely.
So I would not want to make any aspersions on Mr. Gray or why Mr. Mobley jumped in the race or why the Republican Party has decided to throw a lot of money supposedly at this race, but very interesting, I would say. And this is what keeps you tuned in to Citizen Watch, because once again, we've reached the end of our hour with you folks.
And I think the only thing universally we agree upon before we go is we're no on M.
No on M.
And we're looking for voter turnout. That's how we're going to measure, our success. And what
I'm
we've
not
been able to
voting
do.
for District Supervisor 3. I'm boycotting that.
Well, you're not in that district, so you can.
Oh.
And I would say that, folks, please, if we get a 25% turnout, Citizen Watch is going to take credit again because we feel that we really helped in the last election.
I just think people are getting more informed.
Just
I really
participate,
think so.
folks.
I
Just
think people
participate.
will participate because of the sheriff's race.
I don't know what we're going to talk about Tuesday, but we will be here Tuesday.
Momo's coming on.
It'll be the first part of June. I think summer starts soon officially.
June
No,
21st.
not for another
21st.
month.
Oh,
Where
never
were you?
mind. God, it's been hot. All right, folks, we've got to go. My mom always said, to bed, said Sleepyhead. Not so fast, said Slow. Put on the pot, said Greedy Gut. Let's eat before we go. And with that, Robert, we say,
Go pay your phone bill, Casey.
And
you're such a jerk.
and vote.
And vote. Vote, folks. Vote, vote, vote. Send in those absentees. Don't wait till this weekend to mail them. You got to walk them in. They got to be there by Tuesday, not in the mailbox or postmark Tuesday. Don't make that mistake. Hundreds of people do. Walk it in. Vote. Go to your polling place. Go down to the basement. Turn it in. Robert, what do you want to say?
Nothing.
You're such a...
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
All right. Quack, quack, goose.